A special YouTube video for you today. I recently had the opportunity to take a visit to Europe with my family. I was visiting my parents and also spending some time with my children and my husband. He was taking us to some of his favorite places in Austria. From our spot in Austria, we had an opportunity to do some day trips to Venice, Prague, and Budapest. And so I have a little collection of yarn that I collected along the way, and I wanted to share that with you in the event that you have the opportunity to do some overseas travels, or maybe you live in Europe and haven't been to these places. I wanted to share with you the items that I picked up along the way so that you could keep your eyes peeled when you're out touring about. One of my favorite things to do on vacation is to come home with some souvenir yarn. And usually I let that yarn just speak to me while I'm in the yarn shop. I love to visit new yarn shops to see how they're organized, see what they're all about. So what I picked up has no plan. There's no plan for this yarn. It's just purely impulse purchases. Another reason for that is that when I'm traveling with my family, they have a very low tolerance for yarn shopping. And so I have to be in and out. I'm just scanning, picking it out, and going. So I want to take you through my little tour of Europe right now. We're gonna start in Venice, Italy. Now, Venice is this crazy town in Italy. It's crazy because there's water everywhere. I've never seen anything like it. It's very touristy. It is miles and miles and miles of just random alleyways. You can get lost. I don't even know how I found the yarn shop. I knew I wanted to find it, and I didn't use any of my data this entire trip, so I was completely dependent on my husband's phone. And he somehow led me there. So the yarn shop is called Lella Bella. It's Lella Bella. So when there are two consonants in an Italian word, you sort of stop on them. So hopefully I said it right. I did pass Italian diction back in college 20 years ago. And in this shop, it was a tiny, tiny shop. And I feel like the yarn shop owner just had one of everything out. And perhaps if I needed more, I could have asked, but I just bought one of what I found interesting. Starting with the cashmere. This is some beautiful soft cashmere, and it says La Bella exclusively for. I believe it's fingering weight, but it almost feels like it's lace weight. So it's this beautiful, beautiful pink, my favorite color, pink, with my second favorite color, purple. So I got these two cashmeres. These are both 50 grams and 770 yards each. So actually on their own, it would be a lovely little shawl. Together, I'm guessing I could make maybe a beautiful cloud bow. And I have some really beautiful like mohair cashmere mix from Ching Fibers that I think might look really pretty with this. So lots of possibilities here. So soft and lovely. And then I was drawn to, maybe because I was there with all the water, I really was feeling kind of like mermaid colors. So I was drawn to this bluebell. It's Sessia Bluebell, made in Italy. And this is 42% mohair, 40% polyester, 18% silk. And it has these lovely sequins in them. I don't know if that was grammatically correct, that sentence I just said. And they don't really have colors, just numbers. So color 2791, 2425, and 0307. So just one of each. And then this one is from Adrian Wool, Illustre, and this is color shade 46. And this just has a lot of texture going on. Some nubs or nibs or whatever you want to call them there, a little bit of silver. This is quite a bit thicker. So I just thought the three of those together were so lovely. On my way out of Venice, there was this little group of shops, and in the window, something caught my eye. So the shop is called Chose Rialto, and the brand of this item is called Essential. So this is kind of like that washable paper maybe you've seen in certain contexts before. These bags were just calling my name, and you can see they really do apply to the yarn that I picked out at La Bella. And then here you can see this one is bright pink on this side, and then a light pink on this side, so you can kind of see them together on the bottom. So basically I just picked up some project bags on my way out that went with the yarn that I picked out. Next I made my way over to Austria, and I spent time in Vienna. And the first yarn shop that I went to was called, and this is where it's gonna get rough with how we pronounce things, but this is the Penguin wool boutique. So I think penguin wool boutique is how it would translate. And I was just in and out. Like I said, when I'm shopping with my family, I have to be really quick with my decisions. So I was drawn to this really beautiful cotton, and I don't love cotton to work with, but this is the Suave Cotton Pasquale. And it's kind of like, it almost feels like cotton balls. So it just, hopefully you can see in this camera the texture of this cotton. It's got like a little halo to it. And I've never seen cotton like that. So I thought it was really funny. Once I got home, I noticed that there was kind of a theme happening here. Unintentional. And when I think of these countries that I was visiting, I don't think of mermaid colors or My Little Pony colors, but it's just what I kept picking. So it was August, summer. So these beautiful cottons, I can't wait to experiment with these, maybe some grannies. These are made in Italy, and they're 177 yards each. And then I saw these beautiful Brillino from Lana Grossa. That's a very popular brand in all of these shops I went to. And I thought these little rose gold colors were just really nice. The middle being rose gold and then pink in the mint. Thought these would be fun to add to some projects. And then I loved this color twist by Lana Grossa. I love this palette of yarn because it has my favorites, the purple and pink, and then a little bit of mustard and gray in there. So I thought these two together would be a nice hat. 50 grams. This is wool, cotton, and polyamide all together. So I got that at the Penguin Wool Boutique. That same day I went to a place called Knopfe, Knopfe. Sure I butchered that, but it was more of a haberdashery where it had felt, fabric, yarn, notions, and a lot of the yarn was the same as what I'd been seeing at several of these shops. So I just picked up a few unique notions, starting with this packet of embroidery floss. I loved the neons. And I love that they include black and white in neons. It's so interesting because I just ordered another neon pack of thread for my machine, and bright white was included as a neon, and I've never considered that a neon color, so that's fun. And then I had to have this little embroidery tin because it has all my favorite things, knitting and cross stitch and sewing on it. So that little tin. They had the sweetest little safety pins right at the checkout. These are tiny, so here's my finger for reference. And I love that they're like painted matte colors. And then they had buttons, and these ones were specifically said, I think, made in Austria. So I got 9 of these silver heart with little flowers buttons on them in case I do have a chance to make a big chunky cardigan. So the next day, the next shop that I went to was in Budapest, Hungary, and this was 98 degrees. Budapest probably felt like 105. It was so hot. It was called 1001 Fonal. 1001 Fonal. It was so bright and colorful. I loved the way it was organized. I was there for less than 10 minutes, though I should have stayed longer because it had air conditioning and it was so hot. My family just settled right into the knitting table. My dad's looking through the knitting books. So all along on this trip, I was after local yarn, and it was really hard to find. It's really not that common to find specific to these cities or these countries wool, with the exception of Venice. Of course, it was all Italian. So I did find one dyer, Bilum Yarns, Bilum Yarns, hand dyed in Hungary, one of a kind. Now this put up is not my favorite put up when it's a gradient like this, but because it was the local yarn, I decided to pick it up. And what else can I tell you about this? It says 75% merino wool, 25% polyamide, which is interesting, 100 grams, 400 meters, needle size 2 to 4 millimeters. So it's pretty thin. And this was my favorite one of all, but they were all quite different from each other. And then I thought that it looks like these buttons are from NL. Would that be the Netherlands, maybe? But they kind of reminded me of where I was, which was walking around Budapest, Hungary. So I picked up these buttons. I actually took the last of the buttons they had which is why they're in that tube. Just little flowers. And then I thought this Lana Grossa was really cool. It's called Allora Padma and it's hand dyed. So this is, again, cotton, wool, and alpaca. So it sort of has that halo quality to it. And I was really drawn to that on this trip. And I just love how it kind of has that hand dyed look to it. Really interesting. I hadn't seen wool like this before. And then I got some more Mo to add to my collection. This is also Lana Grossa and it's alpaca and silk. I haven't seen it dyed this way with kind of the striping, so I thought that was interesting. So that was Budapest. On my way back to Salzburg, so I started in Salzburg, but I was there on the weekend, so I couldn't go to the yarn shop. So on my way back, we stopped in this town called Bad Ischl. And it had a handcraft market happening at the time. And this one woman had these beautiful felted items. So I picked up these bracelets and I thought they were really reasonable. Like if she really handmade all of these beads, the price was right. So I wanted to show you these just as some little handmade items that I picked up in this tiny town in Austria. I think I was the only American there that day. And it was really fun to see a fellow crafter in another country. Back in Salzburg, I went to a shop. It was called Wollkistel. Wollkistel. Wollkistel, not sure what that means, but I got the feeling that W-O-L-L meant wool. And in her shop, she had lots to offer, but I did find a hand dyer from Austria that I wanted to share with you. This is Farben Gaudi, and it says handgefärbt in Salzburg. So it's actually dyed in Salzburg, which was the city I was in. So this is her beautiful work. And I had to have that just because I knew it was dyed right where I was standing. Great souvenir. As I was checking out, I saw these beautiful Diamante from Lana Grossa, and I haven't really seen these colors of green before with this sequence, so I picked those up. These actually are really thin, it's like almost crochet cotton. So this will be fun to mix in with something. At the time I was working on a project that required 3 buttons, so I decided to get more Austrian looking buttons. So these are just these little hearts and flowers, silver. I see a theme going on here. They're kind of like coat of arms type looking buttons, I guess that would be the term for it. And then I think a little local handcrafter was selling these because I had to pay separate, but I got these little crocheted items right at the checkout for me to remember my trip. I wanted to share one more thing. I got this little item on my flight because it was a long flight, and I loved the design of this bag, and there was a story. They're handcrafted with recycled materials, and the inside of the fabric has knitting and scissors and love. So I had to hold on to that to show you because I thought it was so awesome. Not everyone would pick up on that. Thank you so much for joining me here on YouTube today for this little tour of a few yarn shops that I stopped in Europe. For much more, I have some vlogs about this particular trip, as well as tons of vlogs for my trip to Paris, and then just everyday fiber awesomeness over at Patreon. That's patreon.com/ChristyGlassKnits. That's where the bulk of my content lives, and I'd love to see you over there. There's a link underneath this video. See you soon. Bye.